Evening. Welcome to St. Peter's in Hove. I'm Father Alexander, and welcome to our 142nd step in our walking tour through the Bible. And tonight I'm going to speak about the 8th Psalm. Now, this psalm will be immediately familiar to you. It's often quoted, it's often cited as being the most astonishing of all the psalms. And in my humble opinion, it's massively misinterpreted. No, it starts off, "How great is your name, O Lord our God, through all the earth." And it ends with the same line, "How great is your name, O Lord our God, through all the earth." Now, you might think that's a simple repetition of the opening sentiment. It isn't. It starts off with this fairly usual sentiment, "How great is your name, O Lord our God, through all the earth." Then it explains what makes God's name so great. And then it repeats it. So the second time you say, "How great is your name, O Lord our God, through all the earth," you're saying it with a deeper understanding than you had before. So the psalm represents a growth. It starts off A, then it goes B, but A plus B means more than the sum of the parts. I hope that makes sense. You've got a statement, then you've got an explication of the statement, then the same statement is made again, but in a much more profound way. In other words, it represents a step forward into a new level of understanding. So what does the psalmist tell us? "Your majesty is praised above the heavens. On the lips of children and of babes, you have found praise to foil your enemy, to silence the foe and the rebel." In other words, human speech makes God great, in that children and even babies are able to speak the praises of God, and this confounds and silences the foe and the rebel, the foes of God, those who rebel against God. The praise that human beings give to God makes God great. Now, this, in fact, is something that's said in the Our Father. "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come." Now, what hallows the name of God, what glorifies the name of God, is human beings speaking about God. Strange, but true. Can we give anything to God? Yes, we can offer the sacrifice of praise, which elevates God, at least in human consciousness, makes God appear more great than he appeared before. So the sacrifice of praise is what makes God great. "When I see the heavens," continues the psalmist, "the work of your hands, the moon and the stars which you arranged," going back to Genesis, you see. "What is man that you should keep him in mind? Mortal man that you should care for him." Now, this verse has been terribly misinterpreted to mean a beautiful evocation of human frailty. Rubbish. It's the exact opposite. Okay, man is a frail, human, mortal creature. God created the stars, he created the heavens, and the greatest thing in his creation is the human being. "What is man that you should keep him in mind? Mortal man that you care." Why, O God, have you made us the crown of creation? Because we can think, we can speak. Remember that first verse. This is human praise that's made God great. We can speak, we can think, and therefore we're better than the stars. We're better than the heavens. We are conscious in the ways that the stars and the heavens are not. How do we think of ourselves? Well, Aristotle calls us rational animals, doesn't he? The poet who wrote the best poem in the English language, at least up to a certain point of time, the best poem in the English language, "The Dream of the Rood," talks of human beings as speech bearers. That's what we are, speech bearers, the talking animal. That's what we are. You have made us, O God, the thinking animal, the talking animal. And because we can talk, we can put into words our relationship with God. We can speak to God. We can praise God. This is our great dignity. So we're not the most fragile and most lowly part of creation. We're the top of creation. And even though physically we might be fragile, you have made him, the human being, a little less than a god. With glory and honor you crowned him, gave him power over the work of your hands, all things under his feet. So God, the man, is a steward of creation, as Adam is in the book of Genesis. And indeed, I think this psalm is a commentary on the second creation account in the book of Genesis, and indeed the first creation account. God arranged the stars, he arranged the sky and so on, and he gave all of this to the human being. He made him little less than a god, because he made the human being the only person who can actually speak to God, and he gave us power over the works of his hand. Now, what exactly does this mean? Tsunamis and earthquakes happen all the time and we can't stop them. In what sense have we got power over the works of creation? Well, our power over the work of creation consists in our rationality. We're able to think and we're able to harness the powers of nature. We can build dams and things like that. We can use electricity and so on. Also, what gives us the power over the work of your hand is that we are given responsibility for the works of creation. Now, I don't know how many of you are farmers, but when you're lying in bed in the morning thinking, oh, really, I don't want to get up, but the cattle are lowing, and somebody's got to go and milk the cattle, you have to get up. You can't just leave the cattle to milk themselves. When you have a dog, you have to feed that dog. You can't say to the dog, right, get your own supper. No, you can probably say that to the cat, but you can't say that to the dog. You are responsible for the works of creation. And then the poet, the psalmist, goes on, all of them, sheep and cattle. Yes, even the savage beasts, those that are not domesticated, those that don't live with us, we're responsible for them. World Wildlife Fund and all that. We want to conserve nature. Birds of the air. I mean, let's not pollute the air, shall we? Birds of the air and fish. Let's make sure the oceans don't get choked with plastic, that make their way through the waters. So it starts off with those animals that are closest to us, the sheep. And don't forget, as we know from the Gospel of St. Luke, human beings shared accommodation with animals, hence the birth of Jesus in the stable at Bethlehem. And then the savage beasts, those that are roaming around outside our human settlements. The birds, rather far, fish. They didn't really know much about fish in the Old Testament because the ancient Israelites never went to sea, as we'll find out when we do the book of Jonah. All of these are our responsibility because we're the only rational people on this planet. Therefore, God will ask us, well, did you look after the fish? Did you look after the birds? Did you look after the wild beasts? Did you look after the sheep? Did you look after the cattle? And now we have the key word in this psalm. With glory and honor, you crowned him. We human beings are all of us monarchs, kings of all we survey. We have been given the commission to rule, the commission to be responsible, the commission to carry on the work of God in the world, the commission which makes it impossible for us to say, none of my business, I don't care, it's not up to me. No, it is up to you. We have been given responsibility by God for the upkeep and well-being of creation, and of course the well-being of other human beings who are entrusted to us. I think I often thought that this psalm was in fact a psalm written for the coronation of the King of Israel, because it does sound like that. This is a human being and he is made king. You have made him with little less than a god, with glory and honor you crowned him. Could be a coronation psalm. But then again, it applies to all of us, absolutely all of us. Each one of us has been given the responsibility by God for the environment. Now, Catholics and the environment. Oh yes, what a fashionable topic that is. I'm very surprised that this psalm is not much used as an environmental tract, because this is possibly the most perfect expression of our relationship to the world. And that is, and which tells us why we are responsible for the world in which we are in, and how God has made us responsible for the world in which we're in. This is a theological tract about environmentalism, whereas quite a lot of modern Catholic environmentalism rapidly descends from theology into some sort of discourse that could be shared with anybody, and which becomes rather impoverished. It's important to realize God has made us responsible. Okay, all the very best. I hope you enjoy it. Have a good evening. Goodbye.